And welcome to First Bite, a legitimate First Bite. Our Lions preview podcast is back. Lions preseason game 1 is Friday night. We're recording at about 48 hours, I should say, ahead of time. My name is Jeremy Reisman. I am the editor-in-chief over at Pride of Detroit. With me is my co-host for First Bite, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, we're officially back.
There's something about being introduced as the co-host of First Bite when it's honest to goodness football season that just hits a little bit better. Like it hits a little
Yeah.
more right.
And if this is your first time joining us on the podcast this year, First Bite is our preview podcast. We do midweek. We typically have a guest from the opponents to help break down their team, but since this is a preseason and the Lions aren't even game planning for the Buffalo Bills, all Lions talk today. We'll do 2 quick 15-20 minute segments, get out of here nice and quick for you guys. That's why it's just a little bite. It's a little first bite. Ryan, football is about to be here. We're going to split this one between offense and defense. Let's just jump right into it. Offense expectations. What's something you are looking forward to? Maybe not something you're expecting, but at least something you're hoping to see or looking to see or just going to be looking out for on the offensive side of the ball on Friday.
I want to see Jared Goff take a shot downfield.
Yeah.
It seems that's the recurring, nightmare that Lions fans keep on reliving each and every single day is that like Jared Goff is this super safe who is checking down to his receivers and playing it safe. And when he is taking shots downfield, they're not connecting. I want to see Jared Goff do it in a game. I want to see him step back in a nice, clean pocket. I know the first team offense is going to be out there for about a quarter, according to Dan Campbell the other day. So I want to see, and here's the thing: who knows how long the Bills starters will be out there on defense? Regardless, I want to see Goff take some shots downfield. I don't care if it's out of play action. I don't care if it's out of shotgun. I don't care what formation it's in. I just want to see him try to go downfield and find, and not just find a receiver, but connect with the receiver.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The one pushback I would have is he's not going to have his full arsenal of weapons most likely, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So to me, I'm going to push that one aside for a little bit, even though I would be thrilled to see that. I want to see the offensive line dominate, and not even just look good. I want to see them dominate. And yes, that's probably high expectations for a team that's going to be starting a rookie right tackle, and who knows what's going on with Vaitai at right guard, and Jonah Jackson needs to improve from his rookie season. But this is a unit we have a lot of high expectations for. And listen, I'm a little concerned about the passing game a little bit based on what I've seen in camp. You know what will make me feel a lot better? If they can run the ball a heck of a lot. And so, they might not have DeAndre Swift in this game, but a good offensive line. You could have, Jamal Williams running back there. You can maybe have Dedrick Mills running back there and being successful. So I want to see that happen because it's something that you can't really gauge fully in training camp because there's not a lot of live hitting going on. So if they can really show me that there's signs of life there in a running game and pass protection, I'm going to feel a lot better about this offense.
Well, I know that it's going to happen with that first team offensive line because the second team offensive line has been
not great.
Struggling.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going to see it, hopefully you see it early on. But I'm right there with you. I think it kind of goes a little hand in hand with what I want to see.
Sure.
Like that offensive line has to be giving Jared Goff enough time to set up in a nice, clean pocket. So, knock on wood that, the Lions get as many receivers out there as they can in terms of, healthy receivers out there, at least I should say. But I'm right there with you with the offensive line.
All right, well, let's go position by position here and just kind of talk about some of the guys that we're going to be keeping an eye on, maybe some of the storylines for these individual positions. We can start right there with quarterback. We already talked a little bit about Jared Goff and his ability or inability to go deep. Anything else you're looking for him specifically, since we're going to get 12, 15 plays out of him on Friday?
Just to limit the turnover worthy plays.
Yeah.
I think ball control and ball security is something that has reared its ugly head when it comes to Jared Goff, especially in the past couple of seasons. He's really struggled with ball security. So And to be honest, that's something that Matthew Stafford had some trouble with
Sure.
over the last couple seasons, not just related to interceptions, but putting the ball on the ground and fumbles and things like that. So I'm hoping to see a really, even if it ends up being a limited offense, even if it ends up, because it's preseason, it's going to be pretty vanilla, right? But
Yeah.
like, I just want to see the offense not turn the ball over. And
So
beyond that, like I have some expectations for Jared Goff where it's like not just like not throw the interception, but like not throw the play that should have been an interception. Like
sure.
making the right decision.
I mean but now he's got a balance, right? Like if he's taking all these deep shots that you want him to, those can be turnover worthy plays.
Hey,
If
I
he
think,
just
all right.
checks down and doesn't get the turnovers, he's completed one of your goals.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm kind of setting him up for failure in my eyes, is what you're saying. I saw something that I thought was a really good note. Did you see the little clip of Zach Wilson during his press conference talking about practice?
No, I didn't.
All right, so I thought he gave a great answer for a rookie, especially a quarterback. But he talked about how ball security and ball control matters so much in the NFL, and it boils down to like the quarterback, whether or not
Mm-hmm.
the quarterback is keeping the offense on the field. And he said, in practice, like those are my times to make mistakes. And he's been throwing a ton of interceptions, and that's been noted out of training camp. But he's like, this is the time when I get to like take my shots and figure out like what I can get away with and what I can't get away with.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's preseason football too at the same time. So I get the yin and the yang with that. But I want to see Jared Goff play a clean game.
Let's move quickly to the backup quarterback situation.
Yeah.
And even though Chris isn't here, and I know he loves backup quarterback talk, I'm kind of interested in just see who they tried out there first, because they've literally been going back and forth each day with Tim Boyle and David Blau. I don't know if there's anything in particular I'm looking for out of these two. I guess just one looking better than the other, because basically the story of training camp has been Tim Boyle's got a heck of an arm, but it flies anywhere when he throws it. Who knows where it's going to go? And David Blau just kind of looks like David Blau. Like, he's okay, but he's not going to wow anybody really with his skills.
Do you think that there's any chance that the backup quarterback plays any reps with the first team offensive line and maybe like the rest of the first team offense?
That's a really good question. I mean, I don't even know how you define the rest of the first team offense, considering all the injuries they're dealing with at the skill position players. But I think it might be smart to get maybe a series out of the first team offensive line, if for no other reason, to get more time for that first team offensive line. If they're going to be as good as we hope they are, they're going to need some time to gel in a real life game situation. So that's an interesting thought. I hadn't really considered that.
And the only reason why I say that is because of all the talk out of camp about how bad the second offensive line is.
You don't want to get one of those guys injured.
If you're throwing your backup quarterback to the Wolves, I mean, goodness gracious, how are any of those guys going to separate themselves from one another? So, but yeah, let's go to running back. You already mentioned DeAndre Swift. Probably not going to play on Friday. Hasn't been too active in training camp, dealing with, some injuries there. But you got Jamal Williams. I think the big talk out of camp has been how charismatic the dude is.
Yeah.
But as Chris Burke mentioned, like, this guy is more than just, chummy with the fans. Like,
right.
He's a real deal dude out of the backfield.
I think the thing about him is that he's just the complete package. Like, if you look at his time in Green Bay, the stats don't blow you away. 4.0 yards per carry. But he does catch like 30 some passes a year. He's really good at pass protection. He'll really do anything you want him to, and do it at an above average level. And you need someone like that. And again, if your offensive line is good enough, then that can make an above average player look like a great player. So I think I don't know if we're going to get a ton of him in this game because of all the injuries at the depth. Like Jamar Jefferson, I would be very surprised if he plays in this game after injuring, I believe it was his ankle earlier this week. He was back at practice today, but it was mostly a walkthrough and he didn't do much team stuff. So we'll see a little bit of Jamal Williams, and I'm excited for that because you're right. Like, the hype around him so far has just been his personality, but I think people are overlooking some of those skills there. Then you look down on the depth chart. So no Jamar Jefferson, no DeAndre Swift. That means you're getting Godwin Igwebuike, who's still making that transition from safety. You're getting Dedrick Mills. They cut Michael Warren with an injury designation, which means we might get a new guy that we basically know nothing about, Javon Leak, who was at practice today, but we didn't see him do much. So I don't know. Like, does this is a kind of a crude question to ask, but any of these depth guys' performance, does it even matter to you? Because it doesn't really seem like any of them have a significant chance at making the roster here.
Yeah, I don't know how much I should say, like, I don't know how much impact a big game from a running back will have on the depth chart when it
Yeah.
comes to, putting this roster together. I don't see any of these guys like having a Zach Zenner type game, or, any of those running backs from yesteryear that kind of made their way onto the team. I don't see that happening because I think the Lions are pretty locked in 1 through 4 if you count Kabinda,
Right.
um, as a running back as well. So it really, like, the Jamar Jefferson injury was the most interesting aspect to it. If he was going to miss like significant time, well, then all of a sudden you need an RB3. But with it seeming like his injury isn't very serious, it seems like, running
Yeah.
back room is set.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bummer he's unlikely to play in this game because I think Lions fans are really eager to see him, and I think
Oh yeah,
he would like if we get some Jamar Jefferson in the second half of any of these preseason games, I think he might tear up some third and fourth string defenses.
yeah. I'm right there with you. Like, I mean, the stuff that you've especially set out of camp in terms of like his one cut ability.
Yep.
I'm excited to see that.
Explosion. Wide receivers, another very beat up group. I would say we probably aren't going to expect Quintus Cephas to play, Damian Ratley to play, Chad Hansen to play, Brashad Perriman's probably unlikely to play, although he's trending upwards. So what's left? What left is interesting from this group, Ryan?
Obviously, Golden Tate's favorite player,
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown,
That's a
is
great
going to
point.
be.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be he's probably going to have my eyes the most.
Yeah.
Like, Jared Goff obviously is going to be under a microscope, but Amon-Ra is going to be under a spotlight.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think that he's going to really have an opportunity to shine. But I want to talk about some more of the depth guys. Like,
Okay.
what about Tom Kennedy?
Mhm.
What about Victor Bolden? Like, do these guys have a legit chance at cementing their spot on the roster with, so many injuries?
I mean, they're certainly going to have an opportunity to prove, to really make an impression. And obviously, I think the kick return, punt return battle will be a little bit of an interesting one to watch going forward between Khalif Raymond and Victor Bolden. Bolden didn't do a ton of returns today, and I don't know if that was an injury thing or just, rotating some of the other guys in. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on for Friday. But like a guy like Sage Surratt, who I think a lot of people were really high on when the Lions got him in the UDFA process, hasn't really shown up in camp. But you make an impression in a game, suddenly they're going to pay attention to you. I mean, Dan Campbell said it today. Like, the preseason factors in a lot. Like, if you're working your ass off during training camp, but you don't show up on the preseason games, that's a red flag. And really, I think the opposite is true. Like, if you're not pulling through on training camp for whatever reason, but you show up on game night, well, that's the opposite of red. That's a green flag, I guess. So I don't know what the opposite of red flag is. So I guess
That's right.
I think you're right. Like, I think this is an opportunity for some of these guys to make an impression. I don't think they can win a job outright. I think a lot of these guys might be more fighting for a job on the practice squad, but Tom Kennedy is a guy who a lot of people have mentioned, does pretty well against the Lions' second and third team defense. I could see him do that in the second half of Friday night and kind of, continuing that upward trajectory, which, I mean, I feel like Kennedy has been in this position every training camp for the past couple of years, and I don't know if he'll ever really get over the hump to, make a 53 or even be part of an offensive game plan or anything like that. But I think he's a guy that really could shine on Friday.
Yeah. And you know what? The other thing you mentioned with, in terms of showing up in training camp, but not showing up in the preseason games, there's some guys who really have to raise their stock. I think it's the tight end group.
Sure.
I mean, obviously TJ Hawkinson and Darren Fells, they're absolute locks to make the roster. They're going to be your tight end 1, your tight end number 2. But we've talked about this all off season long. This is an offense that probably will use 3 tight ends at times. And specifically when they need an extra guy to come in and block, probably going to be tight end 3. So,
yeah,
you look at the Alizé Max of the world, you look at Charlie T. What tight end do you think has the best opportunity to show up and shine out on Friday?
I think it's probably Alizé Mack, because I mean the way you shine, at least in terms of like the lay person's view, is really catch a lot of passes, right? And I think Alizé Mack is maybe one of the more athletic guys of the group and guys that's shown the ability to separate a little bit. I do think it's interesting that Dan Campbell earlier this week basically broke down the entire tight end room, except for Hunter Thedford for whatever reason. He just completely lost Hunter Thedford. I mean, I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Charlie T, but Campbell also said I think he's the furthest away, which is, I mean, again, weirdly transparent, and I don't know what you think about that if you're Charlie T and you hear that, but he also he said the most about him, which also tells me that he's really intrigued by him. And I think the part that's intriguing about him is that he can do both. Like, he's also a really athletic guy that can create some separation, and he's starting to show some blocking abilities as well. And so, I mean, Dan Campbell specifically said they're looking for in that third spot to be able, I mean, the basically job of the third tight end is to fill in where he's needed. And if either of those guys go down, whether it's Hockenson or Darren Fells, they both have very specific roles. So the third guy needs to be able to do both. And I think Charlie T has a chance. He just needs, like Campbell said, he needs to get those reps. So Friday's a big opportunity for him.
Yeah, for sure. And I really think the tight end that stands out on Friday is going to be the tight end that doesn't necessarily show up that much in the box score. Like, it's going to be something that you're going to have to check out on film, and you're going to have to stick to Pride of Detroit.
Love it. All right, let's go to that offensive line. We've talked about we all know the starting five. We all know expectations are high. I mentioned it at the top. What my expectations are in week one here, the preseason. So let's maybe talk about the depth a little bit, because you mentioned it already. Like, there's a lot of questions there. We're probably not going to see Tyrell Crosby on there, so there will be some opportunities there for the depth offensive tackles. But I think really the fascination with me is the interior guys, because all of those guys are basically completely inexperienced, and so Friday's a huge opportunity again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the name Logan Stenberg seems like it's going to be, as far as preseason goes, this is like must-see TV for people. We're talking about a second-year guard who basically redshirted his freshman year. No playing time at all whatsoever. So, I mean, you're going to go Logan Stenberg, check him out on Friday. I think it's just, it's an opportunity for him to kind of put away some of the, I don't want to say bad talk that he's gotten during training camp, but like, nobody's really had great things to say about Logan Stenberg.
Ryan, he hasn't been good. If I'm being completely honest, he hasn't been good. But I mean, let's put an exclamation point here. This is his first NFL game, essentially. There wasn't a preseason last year.
Right? Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the dude did not play NFL football.
Yeah. So I'm willing to give him a chance, but it does not look good, and he's starting for me to slide down, into serious consideration of being off the bubble in a bad way. So, huge game for him. And then, I don't know, like, you can point to an Evan. Like, all those guys are all fighting for spots, and I don't even know who's leading the way there. I mean, I know who's repping ahead of who, but in terms of like actual performance, it's obviously hard to keep tabs on that without the benefit of replay in training camp. So to me, it's just who's going to show up, because you're right. The second team offensive line has just not looked great. Third team offensive line not looked great. And that does speak a little bit to the line's defensive depth, but we'll get to that after the break. Anything else from the offense you're looking forward to seeing against the Bills?
I'm just looking forward to Matt Nelson absolutely stonewalling whoever is set up across from him as a pass rusher. And he's going to do it all by himself with his big boy pants on. But no, in all earnest, I think what I'm most excited for on Friday is just football, man.
Yeah.
Like, this offense has been, I wrote my open thread last week, and it was like, does the offense concern you right now? Because it's really concerning me. And, Friday's the first real in quotations look at it. And that's what I'm most excited for.
All right. And with that, we are going to take a break. When we come back, all about that defense. We're all excited about the defense. It's going to be so much better this year, or at least it probably can't be worse. So let's talk about it right after we come back from this break on First Bite, the Lions preview podcast at Pride of Detroit.
Huzzah.
I don't know what that is, but I like it.
I feel like this is what I'd do if I was a wrestler. I'd peel back the curtain and just huzzah.
Let's go through chat really quick before we go back. I don't think we're gonna do the off-air thing because I think the cameras are gonna be weird if I do that. Right? Yeah, we're not gonna bother with that. Whoops. $2. There we go. Let's see. Someone asked if we're going to be at the game. I will be at the game. Yes. Lambo. It was Lambo who asked that in the press box. This game nationally televised. I'm so glad you asked, Nick Slick. It is. It's televised on NFL Network. What is it? 7:30, I believe. But if you're local, it will also be on. I don't even know what channel. I should probably look that up. Maybe someone in the chat knows. It's usually what, CBS or Fox? I don't know.
No, it's usually Fox. But
Fox.
Like sometimes like I mean I go back into like way into years past. And like, it has been on Fox Sports Detroit before, which is now Bally Sports. But I don't think it's going to be over there this year.
Yeah, I'm almost certain it's being played locally as well. But yeah, it is on NFL Network. Otherwise, check your local listings if you're in the Michigan area. I'm sure it will be, and we'll have a post on it either tomorrow or Friday. So you can.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll get blacked out on NFL Network locally.
It should. I think that's usually how they do it, but I don't know. Do I need Sunday ticket to see the preseason? Not if. Well, depends. That's it's a complicated question. If you can get NFL Network, you should be fine for the first 2 games. I think both those are on NFL Network, so you won't need Sunday ticket unless you need Sunday ticket to get NFL Network. But
yeah, I don't think you do.
Otherwise,
your cable provider.
The other option I know you have well, I don't know if it's internationally, certainly local or in the United States, you can also subscribe to NFL Game Pass, and they let you live stream preseason games, all of them. So if you wanted to watch, the Bears and watch what's his name, Justin Fields,
Jenkins.
You're not going to watch Tevin Jenkins, I'm pretty sure. But if you're morbidly curious about Justin Fields, you could theoretically download NFL Game Pass.
But Jeremy, can you watch all 22 film on it?
You can't currently, sadly enough, which is why I'm not currently subscribed to NFL Game Pass.
Literally, the reason that everybody signs up for Game Pass is for all 22 film, and it's the one thing that they don't have.
Well, it's not only they also removed play-by-play. You can't jump to a specific play anymore.
What?
It's like a complete remodel, and for some reason, the first stage of that remodel doesn't have the only good features.
Took away the most intuitive features.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's maddening.
But I think I'm gonna have to download it because I'm gonna want to rewatch the preseason game. I could. Well, no, I don't really have a DVR, so I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, NFL Game Pass for you USers. For some reason, Dan, I keep thinking you're international just because you're British, but you've specifically told us you live in California. So yeah, NFL Game Pass is what you should be looking for, and I think they either do a week free trial or a month free trial. So now is a good time to do it if you want it for the live streaming preseason games. Yeah, I don't know if it's a Canada thing, John.
Sorry. Bad thunderstorm here, obviously, if you're living in Michigan. I mean, that was wicked. And I just got a text from my school principal who's like, we might not have summer school tomorrow because some of the schools are out of power.
Ooh.
I'm not mad about it.
Any other questions before we get back into things? Oh, I should also thank all of the subscriptions we got. I'm sorry. I'm being a bad streamer right now. First, adequate. We got a bunch of follows. Sick ND followed before we went live. So did Uswando 5. As did Fragilities. Thank you for all those follows. State Nate subscribed for 8 months. Wizard 70, 5 months. Choosy Whales, 4 months. El Gato Diablo, 7 months. Says Dan Campbell is our Lord and Savior. Yeah, the Devil Cat. And Derek Boberick. Hopefully I finally got that right. 5 months. And the last 3 of those guys all use their Twitch Prime, which means they supported us financially and it didn't cost them a penny. Why is that? Do you know why that is, Ryan?
You know,
I've never made you do this, by the way. I'm gonna make you. Let's see if you can do it.
Well, it didn't cost them a dime because they've linked their Amazon Prime account to their Twitch account, and then they get 1 free subscription per month.
Easy. Did
I do it?
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Thank you.
But yeah, if you ever wanted to support us for any sort of way and you have Amazon Prime, super easy way to do it. If you ever need direction on how to do that, a good way to do is ask at our Discord channel. Look at me do a double plug here. We have a Discord channel, which is it's like a Lions chat room where we talk about all sorts of things. I'll pull it up on the screen right now and show you what it looks like.
Hey, while you're pulling that up, what the hell is Harry talking about?
I don't know. He's being weird. He's always super weird. So this is our Discord page. You can see our news. So every single article gets posted here. So if this is a good way to keep up, if you have a difficult time keeping up with our news, this is where everyone just talks about the Lions. There's GM rooms where you can talk about making moves. There's film rooms of people breaking down plays, which is really cool. Around the NFL news, Lions memes. If you like memes, we got some memes here. Road trip. Guys are planning to go on road trips together, which is really, really cool. There's other stuff. Where's our other stuff? There's a suggestion box for us. Do I have some? Oh, it's way down here. So off-topic stuff, sports chat, video games. If you play video games together, we show foods that we make. Look at all these foods. Anyways, it's a cool community. If you're looking for a Lions community, I would definitely suggest heading over there.
If you know a good recording bot for Discord, you can send that to Chris Perfett.
Yes, absolutely. Wait, what happened here?
Man.
Oop, there we go. John noticed that I muted fantasy football. True.
Yeah.
You can see it's faded out there. And let me turn my alerts off here so that you guys aren't thinking your stuff is going off. Okay, there we go. Love to play Valorant. My favorite game. Definitely not just for tryhards that take video games way too seriously. Fun game for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you play the video game with Ariana Grande concerts, so.
Yeah. Is that a bad thing? I got a free concert out of it.
He liked it.
It's creative. What other video game is doing anything like that? Answer me that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Madden just puts out the same fucking game every year, and people cream their pants over that.
Jeremy, how are you going to say that? How are you going to say that? First of all, second of all.
By the way, please give me a free code, man.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, you're bad mouthing the company that gave you a free game last year. Jeremy's favorite game.
Madden Sim?
I don't think it is Fall Guys. I don't think Fall Guys is your favorite game.
I mean, it's probably still Fortnite, but Fall Guys is like a very chill game that I'm actually pretty good at, so I do like it. Should we do Madden Sim tomorrow? Chat, do we want to do a Madden Sim tomorrow night?
The only reason why I would say yes is because you would sub in Mitch Trubisky, right?
Well, yeah, that's the one thing we didn't really talk about. Maybe we'll talk about it on the defensive side of the ball since it's more apt there. It's Josh Allen's not playing.
I mean, why should he play, right?
Right. He got nothing to prove. Well, everyone's saying yes. I'll think about it. I have PT at, 5 today? I think I made it. So it would have to be 8 o'clock probably at the earliest, 8 p.m. Well, is anyone even going to say no? I'll put the poll up. Might as well. Madden Sim tomorrow. Let's say 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Question mark? Yes. No.
All right, everybody, here's your chance to finally say no to free content from Pride of Detroit. If you say yes, you're not allowed to shit on it.
2 people have already said no.
I think that's just to spite you.
Maybe. Just to prove me wrong.
Yeah, like I just voted no.
Why do I hate the West Coast? 8:30 p.m. start. What do you want from me? I think people on the East Coast would hate that. How long? I think they last about an hour, hour and a half. So yeah, it wasn't
man.
AM.
Do you know what was a revelation last night? It was so awesome. It was so good. I mean, I can't really do it for Lions games just because, instant reactions and things like that and staying up to date if, running the Twitter account or whatever. But I recorded the Pistons Summer League game. I watched it in 45, 50 minutes. It was incredible. It was like the best thing that I've ever done.
What?
But like it required me obviously to go like dark on everything. Like I didn't check,
Yeah.
I didn't look at Twitter. I was watching I made Amanda watch Batman Forever last night because we just finished that super sad Val Kilmer documentary and that was a mistake. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
What? How? Like, where do you save the most time? Because to me, basketball's a game that I feel like moves along fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you save some time commercials, but the other thing too, like I fast forward through like free throws. Like I fast forward through free throws and I just want to see the up and down play. I don't
Right.
care about, and that actually saves you quite a bit of time. So yeah, I would say I probably fast forwarded the most through free throws than I did like commercials just go by in a breeze.
I thought you were going to say the first 3 quarters because that's what I would do.
Hey, if you would have done that, you wouldn't have seen that slick play that I know you've seen on Twitter that Cade Cunningham pulled off last night.
I literally only saw it because he put it in Slack today, like 2 hours ago, assuming that's the one where he did a little dribbly thing and then made a 3.
Oh gosh, dude, you're entering Chris territory right now.
I'm doing it on purpose though.
I think Chris did his on purpose too.
How are you going to get the updated roster for the sim? That's a fantastic question I probably should have thought about before I even asked. I just kind of assumed if I hit the update roster buttons, it would do it. But is that not going to work?
No, but there should be some kind of like community rosters that you can check out. People who do updates.
Dude, is that a PC thing though? I feel like that's a console thing. I don't know.
I don't think it's only a console thing. I don't know why they wouldn't have it for PC. I mean,
Google
I guess
it
is EA Sports, so.
Madden 21 updated roster download PC. Is that a thing? How to download updated off-season Madden rosters with rookies on PS5 and Xbox. Great, that's exactly what I wasn't looking for. Google. Yeah, whatever. Those aren't really super accurate, though. Otherwise, sub out Stafford for Goff. Good enough. When does... I feel like I keep asking this question, and it's good that you're here because I know you have it memorized, but what date does Madden come out?
August 17th. And if you pre-order it from Best Buy, you get a Barry Sanders pop figure.
Oh, pop figure. I got confused for a second.
If you're into that.
I thought you said pot figure, which is that a Calvin Johnson thing?
Yeah, it's a Calvin Johnson thing.
Well, if anyone sees a roster that's maybe updated, DM it to me or send it to me in Discord or something. I'll look for it myself, but I don't know. Well, if I do it, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow if I do, we'll figure something out. What are you looking at? Huh?
I think I might have found him.
Found a roster?
Yeah. Nope. Never mind.
Dang it.
Still looking.
I mean, the other thing I could do is just find the starters and throw them all on the Lions roster. And just who cares about Buffalo, right? I mean, this isn't meant to be accurate by any stretch of the imagination because it's a preseason game and the starters aren't even going to play for more than a quarter, but I guess the issue is on rookies, right? Like how rookies aren't in the game at all. There's no chance of getting rookies in the game, right?
Well, people do add rookies.
They do like a create a player and like try to
Yeah.
form something that looks
Mm-hmm.
remotely like them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the easy thing about a sport like football is like you just have to get their body type right. It's not like you have to waste time on like doing their face or anything.
True.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna keep looking for it on some forums that I used to follow. Like Operation Sports is usually pretty good for that stuff. But
Nerd. Going on online forums.
Whatever, dude. Don't do that. You
I
know
just
I know
set
your
you up.
secret.
Yeah, I know. I just set you up for it.
I'm a better man than that.
All right, let's get back into it here.
All right.
I'm peeking a little bit. I'm going to turn myself down a little bit. Okay. And we are back here. First bite, first preseason game, Lions Bills this Friday night, locally and nationally televised, by the way, on NFL Network. We talked about the offense. Let's move to the defense. And again, before we get into position by position stuff, Ryan, I know you're excited about the defense. I think maybe a little bit more so than the offense because of your guy Aaron Glenn. What's something specific that you want to see on Friday night from this defense?
So I think the most talk out of camp about the defense has been the improvements that everyone has seen. And I mean, this is like widespread across the entire beat, but like the improvements they've seen from Jeff Okudah. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited to see Jeff Okudah play on Friday, but I'm going to look at that defensive line. I want to see Twinkle Toes. I want to see Alim McNeill. Yeah. Like for as much talk has been made about Jeff Okudah kind of taking on this like leadership role where he's being very vocal and he has Jacobs attached to his hip at all times and he's got Jacobs picking his brain. I'm just really enamored with the story of Alim McNeill because this is a dude who is a rookie and he's a starter. Like he's day one, he's going to be starting and he's going to be playing I think a more prominent role than a lot of fans are kind of expecting because he is playing that nose tackle position. But, people have been raving about him in camp and what he's been able to do against Frank Ragnow and how, him and Frank talk about like, moves and things like that. So I'm really excited about seeing the big guy get to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact like it's not just, the media too, that seemed to be wowed by him. Like the coaches are just raving about this guy. It was just the other day, Todd Wash, the defensive line coach, says, this guy is so much better than we thought when we drafted him. He's got so much more athleticism.
What a compliment.
And like, I know you hear some stuff like that every year from coaches, but we've been given so much honesty from this coaching staff from the beginning. And like the fact that some of these, I mean, they're saying some like we just talked about Dan Campbell being very honest about some of the bad things about the tight ends group. Like when you've built in that much honesty, when you say a compliment about a guy like Alim McNeill, it really rings true. And I feel like everyone's being honest when they say something like that. So the only one I would feel is maybe being a little dishonest is Antoine Randall L. when he said he thinks this is a great wide receiver group. But what is he going to say there?
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm looking for in this defense. I think part of me is looking for a little bit of more aggressiveness because I think I've seen a little more aggressiveness in camp. But at the same time, we're talking preseason. We're talking kind of vanilla schemes here, so they might not dial up a lot of blitzes. I hope they do, just because I want to whet that appetite a little bit. But yeah, to me, I want to see pressure. Pressure. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care, who's generating it. I want to see some pressure on the quarterback.
You know what? I got to push back a little there, Jeremy, because we know who the Bills' starting quarterback is going to be in this game. It's not going to be Josh Allen. It's going to be Mitch Trubisky. So I hope the pressure is coming from the right. So we see Mitch Trubisky have to throw left.
That's a good point. That's a great point. All right, let's start with that defensive line. Let's do the interior a little bit because there's a lot going on there right now, and it's not all good. Because we came into camp thinking this is a really deep defensive tackle group, and then the football god said, "Ha ha ha, we have other plans." Levi Onwuzurike, not going to play. Been working. We learned today that he has a back injury lingering from Washington. They've been working on rehabbing it and building strength. He saw a couple specialists, which is something that kind of makes you wince a little bit when you hear the word specialist. But apparently he'll return to practice next week, so that's good. Deshaun Hand injured himself this week. Doesn't sound like it's serious, but would be very surprised to see him play. Didn't practice today. John Pennicini has been out for a while. Nick Williams has COVID. I don't think I'm missing anyone else, but man, that means we're relying on a bunch of guys that were just added in the past week or two. Like you mentioned, Aleem McNeil. Michael Brocker's probably not going to play. He hasn't been doing any team stuff, so that's another guy that's out. So the guys that are in are Aleem McNeil.
Bruce Hector.
Did you say Phil Spector?
No, I said Bruce. Bruce Hector.
Kevin Strong, who's having a good camp, and yeah, like a bunch of reserve guys. So, I hate to say it, but like outside of Aleem McNeil, I don't care about the rest of this because none of these guys are going to make the team.
Yeah,
PJ Johnson, like that's a fun storyline in a former Lions draft pick coming back and being a reserve nose tackle. But unless John Pennicini has a serious injury, I don't think there's a chance PJ Johnson will make the roster.
Yeah, it's kind of like the running back room over on offense. It's like I think everybody knows who's going to be on that defensive line in the interior. It's just we need to get them healthy and we need to get them there.
Yeah. All right, let's just move to edge then, because I think the edges are something exciting to talk about, something that could have a lot of potential. Obviously, you got your starters in Romeo and Trey Flowers, but I think the depth there is also very interesting because Julian's having a good camp. Austin Bryant had a good couple days this week, and we just talked to. I think to me, maybe the guy I'm looking forward to most on defense is Austin Bryant because I know we talked to him today, and the guy just seems super eager to get out there. He said a lot of the same things Deshaun Hand said, which is just like, yeah, the first 2 years are frustrating. I don't think not being able to show who I think I am is frustrating. And, you know, he now had a full off season where he was mostly healthy. You know, he entered training camp with an issue. We don't know exactly what it was, and he didn't feel like sharing. But this was the first off season, he said, where he had the entire off season to train and not rehab. And so we're starting to see some of those flashes. And like Kelvin Shepard said, we need those flashes to turn into consistency. Let's see it in the game.
Yeah, now's going to be the time because Austin Bryant is firmly on the bubble, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's right there. And I think he's a great candidate for somebody who could have a big preseason and play his way onto the roster, no doubt.
100%.
Yeah, and you know, I'm super excited about Julian Okwara.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm really excited about Julian Okwara because we've heard some really good things in camp about his level of play, and it's just such a great story. Like Romeo and Julian, it's such a great story. So that's what I'm really looking forward to from the edge.
Yeah, and the other guys also have, you know, some intrigue there. Obviously, Charles Harris is a guy that former first-round pick. He's right there on the roster bubble with Austin Bryant, has a big opportunity to prove in a new scheme, in a new place, with a, you know, quote-unquote good Lions coaching staff. You know, has a chance to revitalize his career. And does it happen a lot with guys that came into the league with his stature and hasn't had the success in 3 or 4 years? Not often, but you never know. And he hasn't made a huge impression, but I wouldn't say he's looked out of place at all either. So I think another big opportunity for him on Friday. Yeah,
and a performance by Charles Harris that would, you know, catapult him into being a roster lock will show up in the box score because he is kind of like that one-trick pony, right?
Yep.
Like if he's out there, it's to get after the quarterback. That's going to be his role. But Jeremy, we got to talk about the linebackers because it's maybe the most enigmatic group of any group because you have your starters, but the pecking order for the reserves, do you know what it is?
And I mean, not if you're going based on, you know, training camp snaps, Jelani Tavai's probably there with the second team. I wouldn't say Jalen Reeves-Maybin has worked his way up there. Sean Dion Hamilton is right up there as well. I mean, there's so many interesting storylines here. Like we got to hear today, Derek Barnes is going to play, and I think that's something that's going to get Lions fans fired up because he hasn't. I mean, I can't tell you much about Derek Barnes because he hasn't played much with the pads on. So that's something to really be excited and look forward to. But you're right. Like there's just, I'm looking at this roster, like 55, Derek Barnes, Anthony Pittman has had, flashes in camp as well. I don't know. I can't answer your question, but yeah, like everyone wants to see what Tavai looks like, losing all the 20, 30 pounds. Can he keep up with today's speed? It's I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. He hasn't, again, it's kind of the same thing where it's like he hasn't shined, but he hasn't shined for the wrong reasons either. So a big game for, I mean, you go down the roster, every single linebacker outside of Jamie Collins and Alex Anzalone has something really, really big to play for, I think.
And I think what's most intriguing about this is that all of these guys are basically new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even though Jamie Collins is here, it's Jamie Collins not in a Patriots system,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Jelani Tavai is here, but it's a much different looking Jelani Tavai. And then you go down the list, Alex Anzalone, like Jalen Reeves-Maybin has been a special teams player. Seeing him play on defense is going to be a little bit different. And the other guys you mentioned too are new to Detroit, so it's going to be something where you're going to learn. I feel like we're going to learn a lot about the linebackers in game one.
Yeah, and the one guy we didn't even mention, Tavante Beckett, is a guy that, again, I think came in with a lot of pre-camp hype just, because he's kind of that undrafted rookie guy that tends to get overhyped. But he's going to get a lot of time in training in preseason. Like once those third and fourth quarters roll around and all the first and second string guys are gone, he's going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of playing time. And if he wants to kind of climb his way up there, he'll have his opportunities. So he's late in the game when maybe you're getting a little bit bored. I would search out Tavante Beckett, 59, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yep. 59. All right. Corners. We mentioned Jeff Okudah. I think we're all very, very, very intrigued there. What else are you looking for at the cornerback group?
Well, I'm looking to see who starts, right? Like, I feel like we have a good idea that it's going to be Amani.
Yep.
On the opposite side of Jeff Okudah. The nickel situation is a little interesting, right? Because sure. Mike Ford, he's repping there all throughout training camp, and then injury to Corn Elder, Nickel Roby-Coleman comes in, and all of a sudden Mike Ford is outside.
Yeah.
And those are some musical chairs that are moving around there in the secondary. So that shakes things up because I think the nickel corner obviously is such an important position in today's game. So I'm really looking forward. I mean, how much is Nickel Roby-Coleman going to play on Friday? I mean, this guy just got here this week.
Yeah, the answer could be a lot. It could be zero. I don't know.
Could be none, yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't really done much at camp. He certainly didn't the first day do almost anything, and then today was mostly a walkthrough. So I don't think I saw him in a team. So I almost feel like Mike Ford's going to have to stay at the nickel in this game just out of necessity. They need bodies there. Like AJ Parker is a guy who's gotten a lot of reps there, and he's looked kind of well, taking over that role. I think he's still got a really long shot to make the roster, but he's a guy that I think you're going to get a long look at it, number 41 there in the slot. But yeah, this whole kind of, and to be clear, like we're not sure that this move for Mike Ford is a permanent one. I think it's just like, let's get Nickel Roby-Coleman some reps at nickel so that he can get up to speed, get in football shape, all that sort of stuff. Because Mike Ford wasn't bad there, but yeah, I am kind of intrigued if by the time we get to the regular season, Roby-Coleman has taken that spot. I think it's certainly possible.
And obviously, no Quentin Dunbar.
Yep.
We're not expecting him to play on Friday because he's been out of training camp due to personal reasons. So that's another guy who you figure is going to be. I mean, I think when he was signed, a lot of us thought he could potentially be, on the opposite side of Jeff Okudah. Like he could be another starter.
Yeah.
So not having him there is obviously going to open up opportunities. I want to give Lions fans one warning. And the thing that I'm warning them against is not to put too much stock in how Ifeatu Melifonwu looks on Friday. I think that he's a guy who we talked about it on the podcast earlier this week. I think that he could truly be a guy who almost gets like redshirted in a way. So any reps that he gets in the preseason, don't make too much of it. Because he's a guy who I think he comes in with a lot of hype, Jeremy. Yeah. Like he's a guy who gets drafted in the third round, there, you know, there's a lot of expectations that come with that.
Sure.
And especially for a group where it didn't really seem like there was a clear path to starters outside of Jeff Okuda, I think a lot of expectations have been put on him, but I just want Lions fans to kind of pump the brakes on him.
Yeah, and I'll be kind of interested in seeing where they put him because he's been inside, outside all training camp, mostly inside. But a lot of times that inside comes, in nickel and dime looks. So I don't know if he's only going to be in there when the Lions are nickel and dime, or if they give him some outside looks. But I think we'll see a lot of him in the preseason. So it'll be a good chance for him to kind of rep and build up that experience. But let's move to the safeties. Not a ton going on with injuries there. Luckily, really nothing, which is nice. So you got your starters pretty much locked in, I would say, at this point. As much as Dean Marlowe kind of came in with some expectations to compete for that other slot. Next to Tracy Walker, it looks like Will Harris's spot is there to stay. So I have to imagine he's probably pretty high up on your list of players to watch to see if he takes a step along with all these other secondaries guys that we think might.
Yeah, what can and this kind of goes back to the cornerbacks a little bit too, Jeremy. Just because I think the safety position is so solidified. Like it's going to be Walker, it's going to be Will Harris. Now there's some depth guys, obviously, like Dean Marlowe. We probably think is going to make the roster for sure. And then you got some other guys like, CJ Moore.
Yep.
You got Bobby Price.
Yep.
You got some guys who are going to be looking to make an impact, I think, on special teams, but they're going to be getting an opportunity to play safety too, kind of like that Tavante Beckett thing that you said. Third and fourth quarter is going to roll around. Going to be a lot of opportunities. So I wanted to ask you, in terms of the back end of the roster, in terms of depth, when you look at cornerback, when you look at safety, who are some of these guys that you see potentially making an impact on Friday and, maybe coming off the bubble? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think AJ Parker, I mentioned before, he's been playing in the slot and been playing pretty well. Jerry Jacobs, the guy you mentioned, who's been at the hip of Jeff Okuda, just that alone, that kind of initiative goes a long way. And we've seen him make a couple plays in camp. So I think those are probably two guys at corner you could circle as guys to look out for. And if you guys want numbers there, Jerry Jacobs is 39, AJ Parker is 41. In terms of safety, I haven't really seen a lot out of that group, to be completely honest, that makes me think someone could surprise. I think CJ Moore is locked in just because he's such a key special teamer. And I think Bobby Price is pretty close as well, which means you're already at 5 there at safety. That might be everybody. But if you just want names out there, Elijah Holder is 33. He gets a lot of playing time towards the end of practice, so he'll be out there a lot. And I think that's all I got, man. I don't know who else really has a chance to make it, to be honest. I mean, they cut D'Angelo Amos already, so that's kind of the whole safety room there. So I think the safety room might be solidified, but if you're looking for guys that could maybe work their way on the roster, those are the names I would throw out there.
We did it, Jeremy. Do we we have to talk about special teams?
I think we got to talk about Kicker Battle 2021 because of a whole new wrinkle here.
All right, let's do it. I know Hamza isn't here, but I'm going to try to do this justice.
We can go ahead and just throw long snapper watch off. Like that's not a thing at all. But there's trouble in paradise in the one spot on the Lions roster in which we never have to worry about. Kicker is not going too hot at training camp. Randy Bullock missed another field goal today in a gotta have it situation. I think it was about a 49, 50 yarder, somewhere between 40 and 50 yards. And the Lions brought a new kicker, Zane Gonzalez, into the mix this week after cutting, what's his name? Matthew Wright. Yes. I don't know how you break this down. I just want to see some field goals made, man. I want to see I want to see some consistency beyond 40 yards. Like, if this team isn't going to kick anything beyond 52 yards, fine. It's not great. Everyone's like, okay, that's fine. We'll just go for it every time. Well, what about when it's the end of the game and you're down 2 and you have to drive up the field? Like, you're now forcing the offense to drive an extra 10, 15, 20 yards down the field instead of sending Matt Prater out there for a 58 yarder. I get why you're just like, oh, it just means we'll go for it. And yeah, in theory, that sounds great. But we need to, and to be clear, like Zane Gonzalez has a little bit more of a leg. He's a guy who can make it beyond 52, 53. He's made a few beyond that, which is something, he might have over Randy Bullock, but he's also not consistent. And the key to kicking is consistency. So I don't know. Make field goals.
Wow. Hashtag analysis there. Make field goals.
Make field goals.
The only interesting thing about this kicker watch to me is how is this going to break down in the preseason? Like we haven't really had to pay attention to a kicker battle in a great while because Matthew Prater has just been the epitome of stability. So like, is it going to go back and forth with kick opportunities? Like Randy Bullock gets a shot one time and then it's going to be Zane Gonzalez. Is it going to be by drive? Is it going to be by half? Is it going to be by situation? Who knows? But I don't know. Like Jeremy said, it all boils down to just make your kicks.
Make your kicks. I don't care about kick all the kickoffs into the end zone, in the back of the end zone. I don't care about that. Don't kick them out of bounds. But yeah, just make your field goals. That's it. Like, how hard is? No, it's hard, but just make your field
goals. Jeremy's auditioning to be special teams coach right now. There's nothing to it. Just kick it through the back of the end zone and make it through the uprights.
Yeah, the one promise I'll make as special teams coach is I will never call a rogue fake punt.
And with that, folks, that brings us to the end of our preview podcast, First Bite. For myself, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD, and my beautiful co-host, editor-in-chief of Pride of Detroit, Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online. It's chaos. Be kind.